We spoke about Churchill before. It's quite interesting because when he was at Harrow, he wasn't deemed clever enough to graduate from
Yeah,
English
of
to
course.
do Latin and Greek. But then, when you read his My Early Years book,
Yeah,
he
of
then
course.
goes on. He goes on to say how by spending the extra time in English, he grasped such an understanding that it formed the orator and the writer that he then turned out to be.
Hmm.
Do you then think that it's a disadvantage for people to learn Latin and Greek when they should be focusing their efforts more on English?
I think, I think English. I think English is English language and literature is like is paramount importance. I think it's so important. There's such a wealth of stuff we have. But I think Latin can only help. And I think it's a bedrock. Because like all the oratory, all the debating, a lot of it comes from Cicero and the Greeks and Plato. All our philosophy comes from sort of Plato, Aristotle, and then it's like sort of, and obviously Buddhism and things like that. But then it just changes on that. Oh, this maybe let's change this a bit. So I think it's so important to learn. And like my knowledge of English grammar and English words. Well, I'm doing another video on names today, hopefully. And like you just know that it's like another universe. It's like another. Oh, this is how it all links up. But I think it's definitely the way it's taught. Because how I was taught was just it's just so inspiring. It's just fun. Because in a sense, and I think this is like as I was talking about otium before, and the idea of writing poetry. In a sense, it's sort of it's fun. It's just meaningless. It's not. And I'm not gonna. Hopefully, I'm not offending people who do science, but I don't mean this. But like STEM people who are like all serious, like working their big jobs, like doing like chemistry all day. Like it was always taught. Oh, this is Latin. This is fun. This is literature, and it's culture. Like, this is. And you can laugh all you want at people doing TikToks like stupid, and I think it's a bit like Charlie D'Amelio things like that. But in a sense, they're creating the culture. Like I'm sure in like 100 years that people will be like, oh, this is like these are the trends which happened. And so the levity, the idea of things which aren't so serious, and which the languages, the bedrock, and the literature, people's thoughts, which could be like the poetry, which could tell us, right, could be the TikTok today, the meme, these are sort of things which are quite important, which stand the test of time. So yeah, so I think, I can't remember what your question was about yeah, of course, but Churchill, yeah, because I've read annoyingly. So when I was at my internship in Paris at the film festival, I was reading that, and then I lost the book. I lost, and I remember there's the bit when he talks about like I think it's with his teacher when he's first learning Latin, and then he says, "Oh, why is it like this?" And then the teacher says, "Oh, like, you will not be so insolent." And then he says, "Oh, that was my sad introduction to Latin," or something like that. So yeah, it all depends on the teacher, and it's got to be delivered with levity, and a bit like this should be fun, So that's how I see it really. And it's so important. It can be so combined with English.
Well, I'm pretty sure he goes on to say that if he had his way, he'd have everyone learn English. If the clever ones would graduate to Latin, and then they'd all be taught Greek as a bit of fun. Could you separate Greek and Latin? Has one been superior to the other?
God. Well, so the thing is, so I have to admit this. So my Latin's great. My Greek is sort of, I'd say, if you gave me a month to sort of get it back up to speed, my Greek would probably be just like an AS level, like AS, not quite A level, but yes, because I didn't study it at school because I had to choose between that and Spanish, and I chose Spanish. But Greek's it's a whole other world, It's like if you're fairly intelligent at school, I remember like an A or an A star in Latin was sort of like if you did a bit of work, it should be fine. But Greek, even the clever guys are like, "Ooh, like an A is going to be hard to get in Greek," This is really really tough, and it's a whole different language, And obviously, Latin and Greek they're interconnected, and there's a lot of shared etymologies. But it's just it's a whole other world.